All right. What is going on is we are going to forge ahead on our second day, technically our third. It's our second because we had to start over. Because we were working on a time lapse. And the time lapse stopped lapsing, stopped recording. Okay, so here we are. I'm just going to put up my be right back. And make sure I know what I'm doing here. But okay, let's not do that. We don't need any graphics text on there. Where is my... There we go. Okay. So we're going to get our brush, our mixer brush. We got to get our thing going here. How did we do that before? All right, well, the important thing is we started. So we're streaming. Let's get rid of this. Actually, I'm going to really be right back. I'm just going to get an eye on the other screen. Okay, so I'm going to remove Google Chrome. We've had a couple of problems with the recording in the other room. So I'm trying to record the screen so that I can get a time lapse going. But more importantly, let's just do the painting, okay? All right. So, all right, what's going on? When we left off, we were looking at what's farthest behind. Obviously, there's no... It should be obvious that the arms haven't been even worked on yet. Arms, hand. Everything else at least has some kind of blocky paint down. Is it time to do some work on the arms? I don't know. I don't think it's necessary, but here's what I think we should do. Let's look closely at the core features, as always. Nose, probably the first thing. Let's wrap up work on the nose, at least as far as getting the whole canvas covered. Okay. Wow, what was that? That's not going to be good. Okay, I don't know what that was. All right, lots of things going on here that need to be addressed. So at the end of last time, we were talking about this site size thing of seeing both the painting and the subject at the same size, so you're not having to make any translations. It's sort of a direct, you're just observing from one to the other. And as long as your eye can pick out the differences, then you're in good shape. And let's make sure we can do that. So how do we do that? The way you do it is you make some changes and see if they work. And you try to be bold and try not to get caught up in indecision, and you just put marks down. Okay? And because you can always repaint areas, whether you're painting in oil paint or digital, same idea. You just have to be able to see. Okay? All right. What's happening here? You got to get in here, knock in some of these areas that we haven't hit yet. And that's what we do. All right. So hang tight here. Just sometimes see what we got here. Okay. Now, all right. Once again. All right. So, yeah, we talked about core features. You don't want to grab on and hold on for dear life to things that you've done. That's a big part of this, is just having the kind of fearlessness to say, okay, I'm not sure what I just did there is going to be the final thing. So let's explore. There's no way this is the final thing because it's gray and it's okay. But as long as you have the kind of, I guess it could be fearlessness, because I'm personally afraid of having to do a bunch of extra work or do work twice. And if you were here a few sessions ago, you saw that I did 3 hours on this painting, and then I had to lose all that work because my screen recording wasn't recording. And that was kind of a good, you have to look at these little mistakes as good things, these difficulties as good things, because it's going to teach you not to be so precious and think about, if I want to paint that way, if I want to be able to paint like that consistently, it's not so bad to be able to do it. Not hold on so tightly to the result, and sort of really just train the process so that you're why is the result so important? I mean, it's satisfying to have a finished drawing or painting and put it up on social media and see if people like it. But I think it's just important to remind yourself that the whole thing here, I mean, it sounds cliched now, but the whole idea is like the process or the journey. So little things like that where you wind up having to go over work, it's kind of like a microcosm for the whole process. The whole process is really one of making mistakes and letting go of things that you've already done and saying, well, what is it now? Like, okay, look, perfect example. I put a big dark mark and I stretched her eyebrow up, and it didn't need to do that. And now I'm making it worse. And that's impatience. It's kind of like, it's a little bit of just not having the skill, to know what the brushes are going to do, and getting warmed up every day when you go to paint. It's like you got to warm up your muscle memory and get all the colors, get your brushes flowing, all that kind of stuff. So if you're a painter, if you're an artist, you know what I'm talking about. You have to kind of kick the dust off every day when you come in. It takes about 15 minutes sometimes, or more even, to get into the zone. Okay, and you'll probably know I'm in the zone because I stopped talking, and you'll probably be grateful for that. But another aspect here that's so important is, in addition to being able to kind of make mistakes, is continuously floating around. So, bopping around the canvas here. Are we getting too stuck on some elements of the painting? Here's a good opportunity to hit a highlight. I mean, things like this, the tip of the nose, the eyes, these are the ones where it's really hard for me to practice what I preach and say, be fearless, because you put a mark there and it changes everything. And so people who might be watching say, oh, no, it doesn't look like her anymore. Or like, I've painted people in the studio. Let's zoom in here a little bit. I painted people from life in the studio, and there's a fear that they're going to see it and say, oh no, like, you have to kind of have confidence that over time it's going to work out, and the mistakes are not like a final statement, so to speak. It's not like, you don't hold yourself accountable to little minor errors, because those aren't all you need to be holding yourself accountable for is that you are continuing to resolve, not errors, but resolve little puzzles that pop up. So that's really what this is. It's just sort of like a glorified jigsaw puzzle, glorified paint by numbers, whatever you want to talk about it, think about it as. So anyway, to that end, I'm going to stop talking and actually knock some of the dust off here. So, wow, look at that. That's a scary, scary brow. Let's not do that. Carve it. Okay. I mean, that's fun, right? I made her look sort of extra eyebrowy, but that's not quite accurate, but whatever. Again, can I fix it? Yes, but right now we have other fish to fry right now. So like, here's an example. See this really sharp triangle shape that I have in her forehead? It's distracting. So let's just knock it down, blur it back, and then see. You're going to have to forgive the grumbling belly. I know my microphone picks all that up, so maybe I'll take a little snack break at some point. Okay, here's another example. Sharp edge here. See this? Sharp edge. We got to blur that. You're just constantly looking for things when you flick your eye. See, I blurred it too much. I blurred it back. Better than it was, but I blurred it back into the hair. And let's not lose sight of that. So, big picture issues here. Let's look at the eye on the left. We've got that kind of like sci-fi look going, and this is something that my painting teacher would have let you know about during a critique. You know, it's kind of obvious that that eye doesn't have the kind of I don't know. Let's just, I'm going to solve it, and then I'll tell you what, then you'll see what I mean. So here, let's get in here. All right, we're going to knock in some grays for the eye. And then the other eye here, same deal. Darker. So you get your brush, and yeah, you come in here for some fine detail work here. All right, how'd that go? So that's good. We're starting to get in there and see the progress. You flick your eye back and forth, always flicking your eye back and forth. Now, what's happening here is the eyelash. Let's not get too deep into this, but we want to grab a color. Let's get a sort of basic dark here, and then just hit it across the top. Oh man, I really gonna need a snack break sooner than I thought. Okay, I was gonna hit that across the top with a darkest dark, but that's too dark. It's too dark, see? I'm starting to drag that down too much. So let's bring it up. Blur it back. And then if it goes too far, no problem. Get your darks. Find a nice dark that pull it back. Just back and forth. This is like what they call in, I don't know, maybe they talk about this in like drink and draw classes, lost and found edges, where it's just kind of a war of attrition. You go back and forth and back and forth. Some people, you look at them and they're like, they didn't go back and forth. They got that shape right the first try. Well, okay, but at some point, maybe they only had to go back and forth once, or maybe they only had to go forth, but it's the same process. Don't expect to be able to be one of those artists who just nails the right shape in the first try. So, okay. We're going to look, I'm looking here. All right, look at the hairline there. It's all too dark here. Let's find a nice lighter brush for the hairline here. Okay, now I'm going too dark, but whatever. We can clip in there at any time. Now, another thing that I am seeing here is my hairline on the right. I kind of lost some of that. So we can pull it across, pull it in, zoom out, take a look. By the way, let me know if my mic is blaring loud. I see that I'm hitting the threshold there. But I think it's better to be louder maybe than too quiet. So, all right. All right, bubbly tummy coming back at you. So, flicking your eye back and forth. Our placements are okay. The nose is really needs some more refinement. And I think some of that can be done by grabbing this color. So here's what I think is happening. My smile mark here is just too severe. We're going to try to knock it down. Part of that was the charcoal coming through, and when you paint over charcoal, the charcoal sort of melts in. All right, let's hit this. Okay. Eye on the right, equally undeveloped to the eye on the left. I had noticed something about this eye before I started painting today when I was looking at the drawing. So here, let's just take a close look at the eye. So here's it's like a 3/4. It's like from noon to 12:15. It's all kind of but we don't really see what is noon, and this is a mess here on mine. So I'm flicking my eye back and forth. I'm looking for where this happens and where all this stuff lives. It's gonna be messy. I don't know how to solve that really right at the moment, but I don't think we're too far off. We're in the right ballpark there, but things need to be resolved. So here, let's take our eye color. Now, see, I don't know what I want to do with that. Here I am, I'm scared. You know why? Because this is the eye, and if you mess up the eye, then you gotta fix it and all that. So this is just what I was talking about before, being afraid to do work twice, and let's not be. So, all right, here's a good example where we can just, that gray canvas needs to be knocked in, the white of the eye. The white of the eye is not really white. It's actually, when I'm painting in oil, I just mix black and white to get that. Gives a cool. Okay. All right. So if you're just joining the stream and haven't seen one of these before, what I'm doing is trying to. I am trying to bring a kind of classical realism, sort of traditional oil paint techniques to digital platform. And I'm actually learning how to do this digital stuff. And so I'm actually always open to anyone who's a proficient digital painter and seeing me do something that they're like, why don't you just do this? Or, you'll see from the brush, you might see that I'm not big into the handling of brushes and doing fancy things with the program. I'm more about seeing a visual I'm more about comparing the subject and painting and making changes, almost like, well, I talk about it like glorified paint by numbers, but yeah, it's like, all right, anyway, just to finish that thought before I get sort of too far into the zone here, I'm open to critiques about likeness and technique and any and all above. I like to talk about this stuff, so hit me up. Let me know what it is you like to do with your art, your craft. So, with all that stuff said, let's look again. See inside the corner of the eye, I've got this jagged mark here. Great, but let's blur that edge because we know that's too jagged, right? All right, let's see. While I'm at this, oh gosh, what just happened there? No, nothing. While I'm at it, I want to make sure that okay, we're still screen recording, hopefully. 1 second. You know what happens? I just gotta check this out. Whoa, gotta check it. Make sure the screen's still going. All right. We're in good luck. We have good luck. It's working. Okay. And where are we? So, let's see. I'm going to do a little bit of my daily self-promotion. Wait, what the heck? Okay. I'm right on the cusp of 50 followers, I think it is. And there's one more. We need one more follower today. Be that 50th follower. And look forward to a schedule of when I'm going to be doing this kind of work. I'm actually sort of getting used to the summer turning into the school year, and once I get into a rhythm there, you'll see that we can have a more fixed schedule. But yeah, in the meantime, if you don't already follow, give a follow. And got all kinds of good ideas in the pipeline, and some of that could include like classes, private classes, online classes, in real life classes, stuff like that. Commissions even. So lots of things that I want to do, and having your follow will mean a lot to me because I'll know that you're interested, and inspires me to do more. So let's hit this. All right, look what's happening with the eyelid on the left, okay? Super dark, and then right above it, it's super light, like here. That's actually gray. I haven't even gotten into that. And we're not going to get involved with like the lash line, the lashes, and get too specific about that. Just sort of knock in a basic idea. And then we can fiddle with it and get kind of more specific later. let's grab, one thing I'm seeing here is this nice half tone. So, oy. So here we go. Nah, not what I meant to do. But you're smudging things around. All right, bottom of nose, pretty good. Let's find the base of the nose. Very important to have a sort of boundary, right? Hold your boundaries here. And there we go. That's where the bottom of the nose is. Looks pretty accurate to me. I don't love how the highlight on the tip of the nose, as I have it, is bleeding. Well, I'm not doing Alt Delete or whatever, Control Z. I'm trying not to do that because I like to, in real, with traditional materials, with oil paint, you can't just sort of, if you're working wet into wet, you can't just remove a paintbrush stroke. You have to actually, if you make a mistake, you got to work it into what you were doing. So I'm going to try to treat this in a similar fashion. So anytime you see a sharp edge like this, you can get in here and blur it back, and maybe we're starting to flare the nostril too much. I get it, but more important to have a soft edge and the tonal transitions are accurate than to have exact placement perfect. So that's something we learn about when we're kind of making a serious go at learning to draw the portrait. So, okay. Tip of the nose. Where's that highlight? Gosh. There. See this? Well, you might not see it, but the smile mark is so big. I was saying that before, and I never really fixed it. But there's a pull that light tone across, and then pull from this side, and sort of, whoops. Yeah, see there again. Too dark. Okay? So by doing that, we kind of address the flat tip of the nose that I had there. Another issue that I'm seeing is that look to the right of the nose wing in my drawing. I'm calling it a drawing. It's a painting, whatever you want to call it. It's a drawing. Drawing is painting. Painting is drawing. So over here, see that sharp line that I had from the charcoal underdrawing? Let's get rid of it. Knock it out. A lot of this is just blurring edges. Speaking of blurring edges, look at this. Light on light. Can you see this? Light on dark. Light on dark. In nature, it's light fades into dark along that nice edge. So here's our light. Here's our dark. Let's find a sort of middle value. But the right color is somewhat important. You don't want it to be too cool. So here. See? Okay. We'll just blur that edge. A lot of sort of nonsense happening here that doesn't need to be happening. So let's find out where, how, and if we can blur all this stuff that's going on. It's not, we don't see that in nature. So we're just trying to get rid of any unnecessary brush marks and things. All right. Sorry, I don't have an alert on for. I just occasionally refresh my feed here, and I see that Stephen Carlo, 50th follower. Stephen, thank you. Welcome. And again, like I say, feel free to give a shout out, ask any questions. You know, we get the chat going. It's a double-edged sword because I love talking about painting and the process and training to be a painter and all this stuff. I love talking about how you learn how to do this stuff. But the more I get talking about it, the more I get distracted from what I'm doing. So, but it's worth it. It's worth it. Okay, let's blur that edge. Now you see what happens here? I blurred the edge too far in. And that's okay, because I would rather see a blurry edge than one that's too sharp like that. But that's just me. But it's all good here. Keep blurring, blurring, blurring. A little story about learning to paint. One thing that's really good to do if you can do it is go into a museum. A lot of museums let you do this. Bring a canvas and set up and make a copy of a painting in a museum. And the reason I say that is because it's such a good idea to know how to, well, you look at any portrait and, hang on a sec. I want to blur this edge, speaking of blurring. Okay. Now I blurred, but I smudged some dark charcoal here. We don't know, say I'm smudging away, and then you just get your brush and just keep, gingerly pushing that paint around until it blurs together nicely. So, little story that I heard from my painting teacher was that he had done a copy of a Van Dyck portrait in the museum. I think it might have been, where was it? Was that in the Prado? I don't know where it was for sure, but it might have been in Spain that he was working on it. Maybe it was in Italy. But he noticed from that experience exactly how much, there's so much blurring that happens along a hairline. It's almost like you wouldn't imagine there was that much blurring until you got a sense from copying an old master portrait in the flesh. Because it's one thing to do it from a book or something like that, but like when you're there and you're mixing the colors 1-to-1 against a painting that you're seeing, and you see, wow, that's how much those edges in the hairline had to be blurred. It's more than you think. So, all right, let's get in here and hit a little, blur that edge. Let's blur this edge out. Whoop, whoop. Too much, too little, it's okay. Don't get mad, get even. All right, corner of that eyebrow, way too dark. I mean, it's just calling out now. Let's get in here. Probably charcoal is, the charcoal underdrawing is part of my issue there, but let's, whatever it is, let's not be shy. Let's just get the brushes mushing around in there until it looks right, okay? And it's really just about that. For me, I don't have this kind of beautiful calligraphic brush handling style. In fact, look at my brushwork. It's a mess. I personally don't like it. I wish it were better, and that's one of the things that I think will plague me as a painter forever, is I don't have this sort of calligraphic Sargent-like, where you look at other painters online, like look at Nick Alm art is an example of somebody who just has the most beautiful brushwork in the world, and it's almost like, you know, you look at it and you're like, ugh, how come I can't do that? My advice is, at least to myself, is mush the paint around until you learn how to do it with those calligraphic brush marks. If you try to just, maybe this is bad advice actually. Maybe you should practice the calligraphy. But you can only find out what your calligraphy is by making these kinds of clumsy mistakes. Like, one of the pitfalls I get into is I'm like, I want this to look like a Sargent, so I'm going to just start doing Sargent brush marks. And it never ends. It always ends in tears for me. So anyway, again, my advice would be yourself, you know, even if it's painful and you're like, oh, I wish I didn't have that crummy looking brush work. I mean, it happens to me. I don't like the way my brushwork looks. But anyway, we'll talk more about that in future things. But I guess all I'm saying is go for it. Keep practicing. The brushwork will improve. And sometimes that mushy brushwork, like, you know, if you're one of these people that just has the gift for beautiful brushwork, great. If you don't, I think there's something to be said about the kind of, there's some good things about having this yucky brushwork. It's like more spontaneous. It's almost more human looking in some ways than those like really technically skilled painters. Anyway, I'm rambling. So take a look at those artists and see what you think. Nick Alm. I mean, it's basically like, to me, it's sort of the difference between Sargent being really calligraphic and something like a Velasquez, where it's just more like improvisational. It's not as mannered. It's more like an improv thing. So at least that's what I tell myself when I'm feeling sorry for myself that I don't have that kind of machine-like precision with my brushwork. All right. Let's get this blurred and matched in, okay? Oops, see? Whoa. Going crazy again. Andrea. Okay. There you are. Let's see. Shall we Shall we keep up the fun here? Taking a little time to all right. Eye on the right, eye on the left. Move our eye back and forth. Okay. No brainer here. What about this? What about the corner of the mouth over here? Well, it's too dark. Okay, why? Where is it too dark? Was that crazy? Yep. So we're going to blur the edge, blur it in, blur it out. Use our paintbrush. Okay, we already got a slightly better hint of where things should be there. Like, look at this crazy business in the corner of the mouth. I mean, this is really looking like, I don't know. We want to stray away from Pennywise a little bit here and get more of that likeness. So here, smudging charcoal around. We don't want to do that. We just want to blur the edge. How about this? Whoops. All right, don't be scared. Just like I said at the beginning of the stream, don't be scared of having to do things twice or even 3 times. It's going to happen. Let's get a nice dark from the lip line here. See that? Let's grab it. Okay. Under the tip of the nose, we have a lot of nonsense happening that can be cleared up. So let's jump in here. Okay. Under the tip of the nose. How about over here? Let's clean all this up, okay? Good. It blurs in. Better. Expression. Okay. Under the chin. Take a look there. Is it too messy? There's a lot going on under there. Under the chin. Yep. I'm going to blur these edges. Certainly going to blur this stuff together. We're going to try to blur these edges. So here's our lightest light. Here's our darkest dark. Not lightest light. Here's our light. Here's our dark. Let's find a middle value. Something like that. And then we just run the brush along the way, the directional of the edge. Again, more stuff going on. Like, look at the highlight here on the lip here. We don't really have a good. We got problems here. Look what happens with my charcoal drawing. See, if you try and blur this edge, you're going to get the charcoal. You're going to get the charcoal going. So let's hit it. Get that nice lip color. Let's get rid of these charcoal marks. Blur those edges. Where are we? Okay. All right. I think I got a problem with the eye on the left still. It's distracting me. One thing that's troubling is the blurred edge under the eyebrow. Can we blur it? All this stuff is going to need to be blurred, but I'm holding on to it. It's a little bit of that fear that if you blur it, then you're going to have to really get into it again if you lose it. All right, blonde hair, always a challenge. Let's put in let's start to cover in this area in the ear. Getting a little lost in there. It's fine. What's going on here? Is there a lost edge here? I think we can pull this down. Let's just blur that together. I'm not really even observing what that is, but so carrying on. Even edges like this can become distractions if we're like, what if we blur that edge down, grab this one. All right, too blurry. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll have to see. See how it ends up. Okay. How about this anatomy within the ear? And again, once we get some of this stuff resolved and we cover the canvas, and we just if we're bold about covering the canvas, the bolder we are in the beginning, the better. Because we're going to have to fill that stuff in anyway. So why, sort of mince brush strokes? Let's just hit it. Okay. See, that's why, because you make a mistake and then you have to just paint it back. That's fine. Looking back. Okay. How are we doing? Not bad. How about this? Can we bring some of that edge over? Can we bring some of this edge over? Why is the forehead now suddenly taking my attention? How about here? Here's our light, here's our dark. What's right in the middle? Boom, boom. See, barely any difference there, but I see it. So let's get a big brush and blur that edge so that our eye doesn't get caught and fixated on things like that. That's what we don't want. Okay, speaking of eye getting caught and fixated, look at the highlight on the lip, the bottom lip. I said look at the highlight, but what I meant was, well, no, I did mean look at the highlight. But before we address the highlight, let's make sure our shadow shapes in the lips are okay. Whoa, crazy, zany. That's going to come back to haunt me. No problem. Corner of the mouth. Where's that smile mark? Let's see here. Get in there. Get in there. Yeah. I don't know. We're going to have to fix it. How about this is a nice edge here. I don't know why I'm necessarily grabbing colors from the photo, but I am, and why not? Okay. Let's see, where is that edge? Why is it that the mouth well, I think one of the problems here is just that I went too deep, too dark. Grab this color, find our edge. You're going to have to find that lip line, but it's never going to be a line. It's always going to be a series of blurrings. Again, I see something going on with the mouth here that I don't really endorse, that I don't want to stick with, but we gotta work with what we have, and sometimes that means we made a mistake in the underdrawing, and we gotta solve it. So, and the best way to solve it is to compare painting to, and flick your eye back and forth. Okay. Okie doke. Where are we at now? I think we're about to come up to an hour, and I'm going to take a little stretch. But, yeah. Okay, thanks for hanging in. We've cleaned up some edges in the face, and we're going to continue to be doing that. And so I'm going to set up our be right back and take a little break. All right. Screen Ghost. Thank you for the heads up. I have this listed as BRB. I guess maybe because I'm too... Well, I figured why make two graphics when you can just use one. But thank you, and thanks for joining. What's new with you? Tell you what's new here is we're getting our hands dirty and trying to fix things here. So, whoops. Started learning Japanese off of, wow, now out of boredom. Cool. Sort of same old. Well, I actually started doing more of my Zelda speed runs last night. I got a PB. That was fun. Now I forget. Can you remind me? Why Japanese? First of all, is there any kind of outlet there that you'd like to be able to read, or people that you want to communicate better with, as opposed to any other language, I guess? Just get that edge. The neck connects. Now I think I made a mistake there. Cool. So great. So you can read the original. Oh boy, what was that? That's not good. Let's read the original. Works. Yep. Nice. Okay. Well, good luck with the training. Here I'm just learning how to make mistakes and figure out if I can fix them. Okay. Dark edge here. No need for that. Let's get a bright color here. Nope. So what's going on here in the hairline is probably not mission critical, but sometimes when you get tired of making changes to things that are mission critical, like noses, eyes, and mouths, give yourself a break and sort of play around in the hair and things that are important but not as important. All right, zoom way out, take a look. We've got issues here. I mean, this is spooky. I don't like the way this is looking from either from a distance or up close. So let's fix the mouth. I mean, that's really the most obvious glaring issue right now is the corner of the mouth right here is like wackily intense. Okay, let's blur it. Blur the edge. All right, now let's get a... One of the things I find interesting is this dark between the lips tends to be a dark red when you're mixing up those colors in oil or any other medium. That color tends to be red, even though it looks like, oh, that's black, right? Oh, cool. Okay, so the translated works, there's an extra premium on there. That's interesting. I would not have thought about that. I bought a copy of Ocarina of Time, because I thought it would be fun to read some of those Nintendo related comics and learn more. All right. Now, look at this. Highlight goes into dark. Way too severe. That's another thing that's causing me grief. All right. That's better. My favorite Zelda line of... Oh, the moon. You mean it's a line of comics called The Moon? The moon. How are we doing here? I think I just fixed some things there. I mean, I know I tried to, but I think it might be working. Another thing, I don't know if you're familiar with those like wooden marionette puppets, like they're in scary movies. They sometimes have them where it's like the mouth of the puppet is like made of wood, and it's like, this is what it looks like right now. So why is that? Because I have like a dark line here connecting the two. And so let's not do that. Let's find out where the darkest dark is. So if you can zoom in or see from a distance. This edge blurs from light, middle tone, and then shadow. And then it's sort of a sharp edge behind it, which so the sharp edge is on the left side in that instance. So let's blur. Do a better job of blurring to the sharp edge. So here, blur a couple of times. Good. Whoop, too much. How about that? And then our edge here doesn't need to be quite that dark, so we need to, and that edge doesn't need to be that sharp, so we can just pull some of that in. Now, same idea. The only problem with mixing these colors together is that we're getting this very cool color, but we can fix that. We can glaze it over and do things to address that. But look what happens. All of a sudden, that puppet face looks less like a puppet face, and the edge is relatively successfully blurred. With that said, we've got some, we never really addressed this. It just was sort of a clunky, whoops, oh boy, sort of clunky job there that I did. So we're going to move this paint over. Don't worry, yes, it's a mess, but we can fix it. We can keep blending and blurring. It's okay. I tell myself that. I want it to be right the first time, but It's all about blurring and moving edges around. Okay. My favorite Zelda. Oh, in-game line, the moon. I have one of those. The moon. What do you mean in-game line? I'm thinking of like, when I think of the moon, like I'm thinking of all the Zelda titles I know, and I don't know about that game. I've also never really played much Zelda apart from Zelda 1, a bit of Zelda 2, and then the 2 new ones. Oh, you have a French puppet like that? Oh my god. Wow. That's cool. Well, no offense to, I just didn't want Andrea taking offense to my painting or looking like one. Okay. Well, I'll have to research some of that. And you'll have to bring your French puppet. Maybe we'll have to do a portrait of that puppet on the show. Is that's kind of a cool. I know there are a lot of artists who paint toys and puppets, and I've wanted to do that myself. V4 those cheap viewers. Oh my gosh. So how do I do that, by the way? You use the sword button? Oh man, I don't want to touch any links. Oh man. Here, let me get back to my screen here. Sorry, how is everybody doing today? How come, wait. Gosh, I wish I knew better how to use this platform. Oh boy. Stream. Okay. Oh, cheap viewers. Okay, I don't want to touch that link. Alright, ban. Get him out of here. And then delete. Nice. You can give someone mod from the chat to ban bots like these. Oh, so I can make you a moderator? And you could help me with that? How do I do that? That's awesome. Well, thanks for the heads up. Like, in the very beginning, well, I've always ignored those sorts of chats, but I don't mind, like, a little banter with, like, a bot that's not a bot, but like one of those sort of like scammers. I like to chat with scammers sometimes. Because, and when they follow you, it's like, hey, that's a follower. Like, it works for me. I'm just not going to buy any of your services or products. But you can, but I won't always be here. Good point. Okay. Gotcha. All right. Well, at the moment, I think there's not enough activity going on where I'm concerned about being infiltrated by bots. Okay. Speaking of the French puppet look, let's try and resolve some of these things. Okay. I keep seeing in Andrea's face here shades of Kristen Bell. And I don't know whether that's from my painting or the reference photo, or does she really kind of look like that? But we got to figure it out before too long. Okay, here's another kind of cool moment that can happen. I never really resolved. There's a nice warm halftone under the left eye there, and we can use this to blur it across. Maybe I went too far. That's okay. How about the nice warm halftone under the eye on the left? See this one? Nope. Too much dragging. Oh well. Drag and drop. See how that worked. Okay. Let's get this nice subtle warm halftone under the eye on the left again. Oh well. We tried. How's it look? Nah. We're going to have to fix that. All right. Blur. Blur, blur, blur. Now this is interesting. Let's find this edge and soften that up a little bit. So here. Is that an edge we need to work on? Yes. Why is it black? That's charcoal. All right, we're going to blur that edge. And then let's take a hint of our light color here and introduce that in. Something like that. Now, corner of eye on the left. Let's observe. How does it work? There's a highlight in the corner and then this nice warm halftone. You know, it doesn't really matter. Like, which one are we going to use? We can use something more like that. We're going to be blurring all those edges. So something like that. Nice. What about this? Whoops, no, I painted right on there. That's not good. All right. All right, well, let's blur this edge here. See? Eyebrow, bridge of nose, somewhere in the middle. Yeah, speaking of language stuff, so can you, in a nutshell, I mean, if you're busy, don't worry about it, but in a nutshell, can you let me know why you chose the app or software or whatever it is that you use to learn Japanese? What is it? How does it work? What's good about it? How much does it cost? All those sorts of things. Because I'm kind of interested in learning Italian. I know it not well, but I lived in Italy for a long time and I should know it much better than I do. So anyway, yeah, I'd appreciate a little guidance on what the best software out there. Let's blur that edge. Nope, that's too sharp. Whoa, we got a long way to go before we're... Blur, blur, blur. See how sharp that is? Too sharp. Too sharp. It's $5 a year. Okay. Okay, cheap. And Japanese have 3 alphabets totaling over 1,000 characters. Wow. Okay, $5 a year doesn't sound unreasonable. Let's move this lighter tone into play. Not bad, not bad. Look, this edge is too sharp. See this? It's reading from a distance like a very sharp edge, and I might not have noticed that. So let's knock it down if we can. Knock this edge in. Whoops, no, that's too sharp. All right, well, something like that. Maybe better, maybe worse. All right, lower lip. There's stuff going on here with the lower lip. Helps me learn it easier while also teaching words, how they sound, how to write them. Okay, great. Wow, okay, I don't know anything about those, but those are the basic alphabets. A level, B2, each taking about 5 minutes. Oh. Nice. So it's like little bits and pieces and you don't get bogged down too much. Track your progress, easy to look back on the things you learned. Okay, cool. Have you tried other language courses that were not as, like, I don't know, I saw somebody doing Duolingo recently. Blur all these edges, come on. Blur, blur, blur. See that? Blur, blur, blur. Now, I think we can even just sort of go back in and fix that later. so bare bones. Oh, interesting. Also, you can talk to other users on the app, but also learning many different languages. That's cool. So it's kind of like a social platform where you're also learning. That's cool. Okay, we're gonna hit those darks. Whoops. Top of head. My native language is not English. Oh, wow. Okay. Some familiarity. I see. Okay. So what's your native language? Turkish. Right. Okay, cool. Nice. Speaking of worldwide learning and learning about other places and languages, cultures, I've gotten into this game GeoGuessr, where you stop me if you know what it is, but basically it's like an app and it shows you a Google Maps screen grab, or it drops you somewhere in the world and you got to guess where you are. It's pretty fun. I think we were in Turkey a couple days ago. I was doing that with my nieces, and pretty fun. Okay, so see this? You know it. Yeah, it's fun. It's kind of like a video game. You have like a certain time limit. All right. Let's clean up this area around the ear. I think we should go for something like this. Blur this edge somewhat. Maybe get a blurry edge going here. I don't know. That's always risky. But again, we're here to take risks, right? You gotta take risks. Okie doke. So again, this is just more of the same. I'm gonna grab a nice, rich, warm color here. Why aren't I addressing the problems in the face? Well, partly it's fear. Partly it's laziness. But the chickens will come home to roost, as they say, if you don't address the problems. So yeah, give yourself a moment to catch your breath and resolve issues. Oh, here's a major issue. Look, I don't know why it's like GeoGuessr. It's fun to do. GeoGuessr. What is like GeoGuessr? Your language course? Just gonna grab that edge. All right, so we fill that in. All right. Let's grab this. Let's see. No, no. Too far, too far. Alert, alert. Oh, I kind of like that sharp edge there. All right, eye on the left is still crazy looking. Crazy, crazy. Why is that? Always got to get in here and refine, clarify what's happening here. Well, here, look. Let's do this. Here's the little triangular. That's nice. Here's the triangle, the tear duct. And surrounding it is this area. And then surrounding the tear duct is this halftone somewhere in here. So we can pull that one. Okay, something like that. Softening the eye, that's nice. All right. Now, did we ever really fully get these highlights under the eyes here? I don't know, but let's find out. That's fine. Okay. All right. Okie doke. So we're gonna. You see, I'm jumping all over the place, and that's one thing I talked about when I started this portrait. Is very important in my, not just opinion, but in my training, in the way I learned how to paint and draw, is to keep the whole picture going at once. And it's obviously impossible. But what that does is it keeps you from getting too fixated on one area. And if you can keep bouncing around to different areas within the picture, the idea is you're going to keep a general broad focus, and the whole thing's going to work together kind of as a whole. So to that end here, I'm just going to grab this. And by the way, you might be asking, why is he stealing colors from the photo? That's cheating. Yes, it is. I don't know. I'm giving myself a break because I don't know. I don't know why. But I guess I could just grab the colors from my painting here. But anyway, back to what we were talking about. It's so important to keep the whole picture going, because if you get too caught up in one little area, you know, help me finish this thought. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think it's a good idea to go about it like in little bits and pieces, or do you think it's better to solve problems sort of on the fly and jump around, or do this thing that I talk about, which is what's the farthest thing behind? So that is always on my mind. One of the questions is, what's the farthest thing behind? Whoops. Okay. All right, whatever. I don't know what's going on there. Nice, nice. We could really resolve that eye, and while I want to, there's something weird about it. Like, look at how light it is. It's just too light. Let's resolve it. Come on, we can do it. We can do it. For one thing, let's grab this nice halftone. Just zoom all the way in with our smallest brush that we can. Okay, so how about like this? What if we got that brush and just dragged in from the side? I mean, this is crazy. We don't need to be this dragged in, but whatever. You're going to start to see those changes take effect. Here's a big thing about how light and shadow operates. So there's actually a shadow being cast by the eyelid onto the iris. Is this? So let's make sure we indicate that. All right, and let's bring this down, drag that down a little bit. Blur that edge, zoom out, looking good. Take another look. Here, what's happening here? Is the lens connected? No, it's not. But there's some nice hazel coloration here in the eye that we can bring down. Okay, now let's blur this edge. I'm going too zoomed in here, but that's what I do. Like, again, I'm always talking about how does this relate to oil portrait painting? Well, in oil portrait painting, you are going to be using very small brushes when you're working on things like the eyes. So, all right, voila, a little less scary in the eye. Let's bring in more of this darkest dark here. Really, like, get the iris there going. There we go. Oh, sorry, you said I like GeoGuessr. Yeah, it's fun to do. Just go at it until you're stuck somewhere. Yeah. And it's fun to, like, look on the map and see how close you are. And it's funny how subconsciously, too, like, if there's one from where you live, you just kind of know. That happened to me a couple of times. I've lived in the U.S. and a little bit in Italy. Well, for 7 years I lived in Italy. But, you know, you sort of get a feel for it. And then there are the tricks that the pros use, like whether the sun is in the, you know, where the sun is in the sky and all that. Uh-oh, Nintendo just announced a Direct. Is that accurate? Anybody? Okay, here we are. Looking good, looking good. I would say looking okay. All right, I'm flicking my eye back and forth. I'm getting some readings here. Let's really hit that. Okay. Corner of mouth to the dimple in the corner. Take a look. See how here I've got this light and then it goes dark and then it goes light again? Well, look, in nature, it's light, light, and yes, it's dark here, but there's a river of light that connects the two lights between, that dark. So here's what I'm going to do. To figure that out, I'll get my brush and just blur the dark first so that we're just blurring that edge somewhat. And then once that's blurred, well, here, let me blur. You're going to see me talking about blurring a lot. Once that's blurred, you find a light color and you just drag your light across. Find your light. Just gingerly drag it through. And then from the other side, same idea. Drag your lights until they connect in the middle. Now, is it too sharp? Yes, I made it too sharp. But you can blur that edge too. And then zoom out and see, is that better? A little better. Maybe it's not giving it enough of the, maybe when you solve a problem like that or try to address a problem like that, you begin to see how other areas have been neglected. Like, why is this too sharp? Yeah, these darks here are too dark. You don't need those. So let's blur them. Okay, same idea here. Can we blur this edge across so that it comes up like that? Yes, probably. Blur underneath. Okay, and then we can look. And then it's always a process of making a change up close and then zooming out and seeing if that helped or hindered. And in that case, I think it helped. So again, similar issue. Look at my lines here. Extremely sharp. Okay, it's like, wow, you might as well just carve that, out of wood or something. But this is flesh, and we're going to treat it as such. So here, how are we going to blur this edge? There's the dark, there's the light. Let's find a middle value. Something like that. And just blur the edge. Blur the edge here. Oh, see what happens? What happens? You blur it too far, you just knock it back the other way. Blurred it too far again. So again, it's lost and found, back and forth. Not a problem. This edge here, too dark. Okay. All right. Nice little highlight here on the nose wing on the right. Look at this. Look at that lightest light. We can find that edge here. It's actually never was a dark. So it's actually a highest highlight. So let's map it in. Screen Ghost, what's going on? You working on any artwork these days? Okay. When you said geoguessr, I wanted to fool around Google Street View. Oh, yeah. I had kind of a funny art-related Google Street View story where at my art school, it was a little bit of, a distraction would be to go out and get a coffee, and some people would have a smoke out on the street and during break times. And it was a little bit like a point of, I don't know, you kind of like a little bit of kind of you'd get made fun of a little bit if you were sitting there taking a long break that ended up being an hour long. Because like everybody else, you don't want to, it's hard work, right? And you just need a break sometimes. But I was looking at Google Maps of my school a few years ago, and there were 3 students standing outside the door smoking cigarettes. It was just very funny. It was like, no, there's probably never a time in front of that school where there isn't somebody taking a break from their dreaded drawing practice. So that was funny. All right. Cool. All right, here's a nice dark. Thank you, Google. Not using Google the past 10 years. Oh, boy. Yeah. That is nice. A lot of the places I've looked at, I mean, I'm here in New York, and they are constantly taking updated drone shots and whatever else. So, it would be nice to see what the neighborhood looked like 10 years ago, but I think that's not going to happen. All right, here. Let's grab our dark brush, pull it up, pull it out, pull it up. Okay. Now, how did we do there? Not great, not great. Blur it back, blur it back. Andrea coming into focus. Very good. Nice. Okay, look, here's another idea where the light blurs into light across a dark field there. So we can find the light, blur the edge through, and then make sure we didn't go too far. Okay. And then same deal down here. Whoops. Too sharp. All right. We made some progress. Could be making more. But let's take a look. Look at the light under the lip here. Let's find out where that lives. First of all, we got to blur this edge. Not use some kind of something like this. Sharp edges do not exist. Oh boy, I don't like that. Sharp edges don't exist in nature. And by in nature, I mean in nature. You never see a sharp edge. It's always going to be some kind of a blurred edge, particularly on organic forms. So let's clean up our sharp edges. Back and forth. Blur, blur, blur. Zoom out. Okay, so Andrea, coming into play here. I certainly hope my, I certainly hope my, well, I think we're doing okay. Age is becoming a factor, and I don't want to say jump to the conclusion that I've already need to be working on this, but one thing that's coming up as I look at my painting versus my subject is just these edges here. Like right along here, we're seeing a lot of activity. And here, it's a much smoother transition. So that somewhat tends to indicate that the person's older than they are if you have sort of these abrupt changes from light to dark. So let's try and solve them. Whoops, that's even made it more abrupt. So here. How can we blur this? This to this, this to this, this to this will be this. Okay? So just blur it. It doesn't really matter if you're blurring it in the right direction. I mean, ideally, yes, you would be blurring it in the right direction. But if you're feeling too lazy to know what the right direction is, you can blur it and then step back, take a look, and see if you did it. Too much, too little, in the right direction, whatever. So, same deal here. Blur that edge. How about here? All of these edges can be blurred. With Keith, if you watch the Keith Morrison painting, you could get away with a little less refinement because he's got those trademark idiosyncratic wrinkles and but in this image of Andrea, we've got much more refinement. And so, yeah. Let's try and get it. Okay, here we go. Let's keep going. Look at the cheek here. This is a great example. Right here, it looks like it's like somebody's pushing a piece of glass against her cheek here and flattening it. Here, it's rounded. And how do you make that round? How do you make it look more rounded? You blur the edge from light to dark. So find it here. Where's the edge? Maybe from here to here, we blur that down a little bit. Okay. Did I go too far? Yes, I probably did. But that's okay, because you can just keep mushing it. Uh-oh. Phone call. It's just potential spam. No problem. Okay, so again, we're trying to find out exactly what's light and what's dark. And sometimes it's just a little bit of both, and don't go too far. Okay? This is one of the hardest parts of painting, is to get forms to what they call make forms turn. So now you can always get distracted and say, well, I didn't have the highlights. I didn't have the color right. So let's get back in here and hit some highlight colors here. Okay, fine. But eventually you're going to need to go back in and soften those edges. So better, worse, probably a bit of both. And that's just the way it works. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse. And if you just keep going back and forth, eventually you stop at something that's reasonable. You know, you can go on forever, but there's no reason to do that. So yeah. Okay, look here. Dark bleeds into light. right here. In my painting, it's a very sharp edge. So how can we get that dark to bleed into the rosy cheeks, the lights of the cheeks? Let's find out. So here, look at that. Look at that gradation. Let's soften it. I mean, you don't need to go crazy getting the pixels perfect, but you can lose that sharp edge. Look here, sharp, light, dark. Find the middle value. Pull that edge through. Okay. Now, if we'll keep going, keep looking, always zooming out and watch, you'll see my eyes going back and forth. I'm looking down here at my monitor. I can look up there, but the screen is not as good. So this is where I need to be looking. All right, great example. Look at the bottom of the chin here, sharp. Look at the bottom of the chin here, soft. Let's get in here and blur that edge. Now, blur that edge. Okay. Let's observe what's happening here. First of all, there's a sharp edge, but where is it sharp? Does it come all the way down? Certainly there's no sharp edge there, so how about here? I don't know. Got to find out what's happening with the chin there. Okay, Andrea coming into focus. That's great. Let's get some of these nice, rich, blonde tones from the hair over there and the hair over here. And then, yeah, okay. Zoom in here. Great. In about, I would say 15 minutes, I'm going to take another little stretch break. Looking, flicking your eye back and forth, finding out. Okay, one thing that I'm seeing that I clearly need to address is the edge here. So, yes, okay, there's a dark under the chin. That's fine. But does this edge, meaning the light edge of the chin that's not underneath, does that need to round out a bit? Yes. Okay. Okay, something like that. Okie doke. What's going on? How are we doing out here? This hairline really could fix that. There's a lot of things now that I can zoom out and look at and say, these need to be resolved. There's quite a few things that need resolution in the face. One that I'm seeing now is this highlight on the smile mark over the nose wing here. That's too bright. We don't need that to be quite that bright. So let's blur that edge. And then blur this edge. Whoops. Blurred. All right, where are we at? Look at the nose. Still too sharp under there. So let's find out why. See this dark of the nostril? It blurs out underneath. Blurs out. There's a sharp edge there. And we'll get that highlight eventually. But here it just fades out from dark to light. So here's we have it the opposite in our painting. This side is fading out, and this one's falling off a cliff. So let's take a little tip from the side on top. Okay, blur it. Hey, nope, see, sometimes you don't want to lose the dark under the nostril, but you need to make sure you're pulling the right sort of amount. Okay, fine. Yeah, I think I lost a little bit. So let's get some of this and feed in that red, that nice dark red, warm shadow color. How about here? Get a bigger brush and, well, how are we doing? Not great. It's all right. These things take time. You got to go back and forth several times. Okay, tip of the nose. Look at this. Finally can kind of resolve this. This should be pulled down there. And already, now we're getting a little better likeness there. What's happening with the highlight on the lip? There's lots happening on the highlight on the lip. One of the things is on the underside of it, there's that nice rich red that I'm not giving its due. I'm not doing my due diligence there. So can we pull this one? Here, there's, again, let's zoom in and take a look. Look at how the highlight here turns directly into the red. Above it, the light sort of fades up and across. So here, yes, I'm sort of indicating that, but look, highlight, mid-tone. Let's find some kind of middle value. Get our big brush and just blur that edge. Blur the edge. Oop, blurring the shadows, and all kinds of things happen in there, but you can mush it around with your paintbrush and fix it. Okay. Other issues to resolve are the upper lip. Again, always a problem. You're never going to see a lip that just goes right to flesh color. It's a transition. Now, in some cases, there's a highlight on the top of the lip. Others, there's more of a halftone. But look, we're doing the best we can. Corner of the mouth, flatten that out, and try again. Okay, that's too sharp. Then we're getting back into the marionette. We don't want that marionette. Make sure your edges are blurred strategically. And then you zoom out and you see, did I do a good job? Could be better. But that's what the late game is for. So, we just come back, keep passing over areas over and over. Okay? So, when we come back from this little short break, flicking my eye back and forth, we got to resolve some things. We're getting a little too Madonna right now in the left eye. Less Madonna, more Andrea. Let's resolve the hair better. Lots to do. Gonna take another break. And I'll be back at you. Hello? Okay, here we are. Starting soon, starting soon. Here we are. We are starting. Okay, that'll... Well, this is fun, right? I don't know. I think it's fun. I'm going to try this funny light. Is that better or worse? I don't know. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Okay. Another good example here. Smile mark on the right. I'm going to grab a little tone there. And just blur that edge across. Blur that edge. Blur it, blur it. Whoa. Didn't blur it enough, apparently. Blur the edge, blur the edge. Nice. We're bouncing around a little too much. Let's, hang on a sec. We're back at it. So, as you can see, there's a lot to be done here. Look at this. Light, halftone, middle value. Let's grab it. Light, halftone, middle value. Grab it, pull it, shape it. Now, if you zoom all the way out, you're going to start to see things are coming into place better. Particularly sort of shape of head stuff is okay. What's not really reading right to me is what's going on with the tip of the nose. And so let's revisit the core features. Probably a good idea to do that anyway after a break. So what I do is I get my dark, and just like these other things where we had our okay. Dark tip of the nose. Okay. So look, we've got a highlight here. And then let's take that highlight, find where it lives, just about here. Okay. Really, the highlight's already there. We're just reassuring ourselves before we carve back into the highlight with this sort of darker value. So Okay. So, whoops, nope. Very subtle changes here. All this stuff has to be blurred. Blur those edges. Blur those edges. What about this? There we go. Okay, not bad. Looking better. Okay, here's a great thing that needs to be adjusted. Look at this little highlight over the upper lip. It lives something like that. Okay, and then, of course, really examining what's the difference here. So maybe something like that. I don't want to make people dizzy here. I see my screen is... Okay. All right, this edge here. Let's take a look and see what's there. We got to fill this in somewhat, so I don't know whether that's going to be sufficient. Now look at the... Is this just me, or does this need to... If I flick my eye back and forth from painting to photograph, look at this. This little mark of the cheek needs to be resolved. So there's sort of a... there we go. Nice. Better. Worse. Not sure. Yeah, I think that was worse. So let's grab our... Oops. Nope. Nope. Don't. Grab that. Grab that. Something like that. Something like that. Okay. Back to the old marionette thing here. Oh boy. Interesting, interesting. Okay, so see this? I was right. I was right. We got to push this side out a little bit more. And then pull in here. And then see. Okay, better. Oh man, it's really a lot of back and forth, isn't it? How about this edge once again? Oh, we got yapping. We got some yapping outside. I'm about to... I got a tickle in a frog in my throat. I don't want to cough into the mic. Hang on a sec. Okay. Andrea coming into play. Coming into place. Let's blur this edge properly. Now this edge, really examine here. So look, there's the dark edge here that bleeds down into the light, and then there's the highlight, sort of reflected light highlight along the nose wing there. How have we dealt with that? Not at all. So let's deal with it. First, let's map this stuff in. Let's just clear away any of this kind of nonsense here. It's not true. It's not there. Okay. Probably need to review which of these is light and which of these is dark. Which of these is good. Okay, so nah, whatever I just did there wasn't right. Well, I thought I was going to fix something, but I'm not. I got to work a little harder. I didn't fix it, but I'm going to try. That's not easy. Okay. Okay. Oh, Taz, what's happening? Cool. Oh, great. How you doing? You seen we're in the middle stages here. If I zoom in too far, you'll see what's going on or what's not going on. Let's see here. No, okay. Sorry to make everyone dizzy there. An office what? Oh, a connection? An office day. Nice. Okay, so you're not in the field. That's good. Right. Okay, so that's what you're up to, is expanding operations. I gotta find out where this highlight thing lives. All right, here. That blurs. Nah. Lots of edges to blur here. At this point, it's all about just pushing the paint that's already down there into the right places. Easier said than done. And how about blurring? Like this, the corner of the chin here, like the jawline, because it comes down to the chin. We got to figure that out. It's definitely, this is not supposed to be like that. So let's blur this through, something like that. Find out what's what here. And this is always a pain in the butt, but we'll deal with it. Okay, so just put something down. It's going to be wrong. That's okay. Make it wrong and then make it right. So let's do something like that. Now we don't know what happens in the corner, but all right. That's fine. Let's look from a distance at things that are too sharp. It's always either too sharp or too soft. It's called the hierarchy of focus. For example, here's the highlight in the middle of the bridge of the nose. And we have that. That's fine. About there. But it's too sharp because look, here's the edge, here's the halftone, here's the highlight, here's the halftone, and in the middle we have the canvas bleeding through, which we don't want. So we'll Here's our highlight, here's our midtone. We're going to do something like in the middle. Okay, something like that. Right. Now, I actually made that edge even sharper than it needs to be. So we'll address that. See how this blurs. I mean, here, let's zoom out to this. See how that blurs out. Oh boy. Okay. Da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da. Well, again, too sharp, but maybe part of it is this. And look at this edge here. Definitely too sharp an edge here. So let's find a middle value. Pull it across. Pull it. How about here? Something like that. Better. All right, at some point, we're going to move on to the arms, etc. for a while. But right at the moment, all right, let's get in here. I don't know, something like this. All right, look, I'm going back and forth. We got to go back and forth quite a bit here, but anatomy on the ear. Again, your glorified paint by numbers. It's hard work, but you make a guess, and then you just see if that guess was right or wrong. Zoom out, take a look. Not terrible. Oh man, it's what are we at? We're at I don't know why I choose 3 hours. I think I do the 3 hour thing because that's what we did at school. We just 3 hours and then a break. and then 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the afternoon. It's a reasonable. Okay. Zooming. All right. It's there's a lot that needs to be done, but things are generally in the right place. Let's take a look at highlights around the mouth. Very important. Okay, let's get some highlight in here. Okay, and then here we can see this stuff all needs to blur better. We don't want it to do the marionette thing again, but that's a little marionette-ish. What are those called? Ghost, screen ghost has a it's just some kind of a puppet or a French puppet. I'm trying to think of where I've seen those things recently. Not recently, but there's like comedians that have them. The wooden puppet. All right, I'm just going to try to blur this down. Okay. Let's leave a message. I'm not going to take this call. I'm not going to take this one this time. I'm not falling for it. Look at this nice blurred edge. Blur that edge down. Eye on the left is too bright. And why? Where? Let's see. Something like that. A lot of interesting tones going on in the eyes. Let's get in here with a 000 brush. Darken those down. See this. Something like that. Let's see. Better. We still got a little bit of too much Madonna in that eye. I don't know why that is. Here, let's find this little. Okay. Find this edge. Oh boy. Tom, let's see. Not gonna fall for that. All right, over here in the corner. Blur that edge, blur this edge. Okay. Go ahead and make a list. I think, okay, at a certain point I'm going to turn off my ringer. I know how annoying that is. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Get the eyebrow straight across, brow. Okay. Better, better, better. Working, working, working. Let's blur these edges here. Grab this. Something like that. Taking a look. Eyes flicking back and forth, always trying to see where the biggest discrepancies are between your painting and your subject. Discrepancies being things that when you flick your eyes back and forth, you see something pop, you see something jump. Okay. Let's do this. Let's grab, whoops, no. Something like that. Oh boy, oh boy. Okay. Something like that. Something like this. So here. Hairline there, just sort of soften that up. Right. Now, okay, here's a good opportunity. I mean, I'm zoomed all the way out. Take a look. How do we solve things going on in the head here? Take a look and look for things that are like jumping out as too distracting, not quite there. Here, something like this. Okay, that's pretty well resolved. Maybe not like refined enough, but soon we'll start looking at that. This is where it gets tricky. I'm gonna sort of blur all these edges anyway. But how do you blur them? Which direction do you blur them? See what I'm saying? This kind of bleeds. I can't really specifically describe what I'm doing, but I'm flicking my eye back and forth and I'm trying to locate areas wherein my drawing or my painting jar my eye. So if I flick my eye fast enough, I'll see things. You know what it's like? Have you ever seen those old like animated flip books where you flip from one page to the next? And if you flip fast enough, you see the little character move across the screen. it's a lot like that, except the difference is we are only seeing, you have one frame, one page, flick, 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 and you'll see things that jump back and forth. So for example, just a very subtle one is here. See this corner? There's a sharp edge there, okay? No sharp edge here. Why? Why? Because I haven't gotten around to that part yet. But once you notice it, you just come in here and address it. Blur the edge. Take a look. See if you got it right. See if it still needs to be kind of coaxed around in any one direction or not. And that's that's the fun of it. I mean, you do it over and over and over until you've basically solved every little square inch. So that's kind of how it works. And you train your eye up to more quickly see those differences. And the quicker you can see them, the quicker you can solve them. And on and on. All right, yeah, that needs to be resolved. Not so bad here. We got some things to work on, but I'm kind of happy with how the likeness is coming out. Tip of the nose needs to go up. So look at this nice highlight right here on the tip of the nose. Let's coax it up a little bit. And then underneath, well, all this stuff needs to be blurred. All this. And again, it's a balance of light and shade. That's what it always is. The age-old battle between light and shade. Okay. Oh boy. All right. Where are we at? Ooh. See that? I dragged the... Gotta mush that back in there. Okay. Where are we at? We got 4 more minutes. And... I'm going to blur some of these edges over here. Okay. Let's grab a highlight color here. Just take a nice... Okay, grab the colors over here. Gonna start alluding to what's to come tomorrow. Okay. Here, nice shadow along the edge here. Gotta be careful here because I'm not particularly accurate. I got the old shaky hands. Shakes the Clown. That's a great film. Anybody ever seen that one? It's a fine film. So you see what I'm doing here? I'm basically feeding in color shifts, halftone shifts. You know, easy. It's pretty easy to do this by means of just grabbing color from the painting, from the photo. But anyway. Do that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Let's blur this all down. So here, what you're starting to see is, whoops. If I zoom out, you know, we can see, not quite accurate, but get in here with a brush, pull the edges around. So from here to here, we're going to do something like a middle value. And then from here to here, we're going to do something like that. Yep. Grab that. All right. So we're at our 3-hour mark. We're going to start working down into the arms. That necklace is not looking like a fun time to me, but we're going to do our best. And let's see. Thanks for hanging out. And give me a shout. And keep an eye out for the next stream. Hopefully tomorrow afternoon, can I do? Might be tomorrow morning. Anyway. Cinnabon, thank you. Yeah, see you soon. Thanks for hanging. Later, guys. Maybe see you for some Z1 later. All right. Bye-bye.